Let's now create our first YAML pipeline. So in the main repository of this course, I have created a README which explains the pipelines along with their functionality. So for example, you can see that the Hello World pipeline is a simple create a Hello World YAML pipeline as a description. So by using this pipeline, you will get a Hello World message. Let's now see how we can create this pipeline. I have already created the pipelines for this course, and I will now examine the two ways that you can also create those pipelines. The first way would be to press new pipeline to fork the repository from GitHub and press new pipeline and select the GitHub as the source control system. When you do that, you can then select a repository from your GitHub account. And as you can see, you can also select the ones that you have forked. So this is the first way that you can use and exercise with the pipelines that I have created. And the second way would be to create a new pipeline and store the code either on GitHub or Azure Repos Git and select, for example, a new starter pipeline. Then you will need to save the file that is being created, and after those actions, you will have your pipeline created. So let's now examine the Hello World pipeline, which we can see by editing the code. So as you can see, this pipeline has triggers, defined, pull, and stages. Stages and triggers will be examined later on this course, as long as pull that are the agent pool that this pipeline will run. As you can see, I have defined a stage which is called stage 1, and under this stage a job is created which hosts a single step. As we say, it's a single task. So tasks are defined sequence under the steps keyword under the job. So for example, if I wanted to create another task, I will go, for example, here and use, for example, the VS Visual Studio Test action, and I will add this action on my pipeline. So this action is another task on our pipeline. So right now I don't want to edit my existing pipeline, and I will only run this pipeline to see the result. So in order to run the pipeline, you should press run pipeline, and then the pipeline will run under the instructions that you have already defined. You can see also how this pipeline has been triggered, for example, manually in this case as I pressed the button, but this pipeline could also trigger automatically with CI/CD, and we will examine later this with triggers. So if we press the pipeline, we can see the actions that they're running, and our action that we defined is the hello world message. Although we have only defined one task in our pipeline, the hello world message, you can see that some other tasks are running also. So the first task that runs automatically is the checkout of the repository, which you can disable when you don't want to make this running by using checkout to none. So this task will go, and in the beginning of the run will download the source code of this particular repository on which the pipeline is hosted in order to use it in the automation. And then we run a simple hello world message. So this is a necessary task to be performed in most cases of our automations, as we need the pipeline to be downloaded. For example, you may have a .NET or a Node project, and you may need to compile this project, and you want to release the artifacts, for example, in a hosting provider. Then you should download the project, compile this project and build and have the artifact, the built-in image, in order to download and use it per your needs. So in most cases, we will need this task to be automatically performed, and we don't need to disable the checkout of the repository. And the post job is some cleaning tasks that the Azure pipeline will perform by its own. So as you can see, cleaning and cast credential from repository, the one that we are using. So this simple pipeline runs successfully, as you can see, with a check mark, and by going and navigating in the pipeline, you can see all the runs that they have been done for this particular pipeline, according with their date and the seconds that were running. One important thing to notice when running the pipelines is the commit message on which they are running. So many times mistakes happen with the run of the pipeline, so make sure that the commit that you wanted is running for your automation and not the previous version of the code is running. So for example, in the latest two runs, I have the same commit code as I haven't changed the code. And by pressing the commit code, you will be navigated on the pipeline code on the repository. You can also check for which branch this pipeline has run, and you can specify this by changing the branch when you select the Run Pipeline button.